And we're back to discuss the last 2 episodes and the entire season in general for The Last of Us. Preston, how have you been enjoying the show so far? Pretty good?
Yeah, no, it's pretty good. It ended on a fairly strong episode. I still kind of feel like the start of the season was stronger than the middle or the end, but I quite enjoyed it. I think what the series lives and dies on the performances of Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey, and they both do a really great job, and by the end, you see the emotion in their faces and you feel what they're feeling, and that's what makes it great. It's just that those performances and really feeling what those characters are feeling, because the events of the show, who cares? It's some shooting, like it's the same thing, right? Like the two of them meet somebody shitty, those shitty people try to kill them, and then they get away, right? Like rinse, repeat, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because it's a video game, right? You've got to get into like shooting area, you've got to get into your danger and your threat, and then at the but. Yeah, no, there's some really great performances and real heartfelt moments. A lot of dark stuff, a lot of dark shit, stuff that makes you want to cry, stuff that puts a frog in your throat. So it was a really good series.
For a zombie show, not a zombie show, there weren't a lot of zombies / infected. I know that we saw one,
but that is zombie show. Like all zombie stuff is like that, right?
Yeah, but at the same time, I'm glad we kind of didn't, because it reminds me of the Dawn of the Dead, the 2004 zombies. These things run at you, and they're crazy, and they're unpredictable, and they swing wildly. It's not the Walking Dead zombies where they, speed run. These are like crazy, like insane, blah, 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 blah type of zombies. And they're also super zombies.
I recently saw a review of Cocaine Bear, and they were like, for a movie about a cocaine bear, the cocaine bear does not appear as much as you'd think, for a movie called Cocaine Bear. And the reason for it is that the cocaine bear is CGI, and every second that CGI cocaine bear is on screen, that's a lot of money, right? And so I think with a lot of zombies, they don't want to do the makeup. That's the expensive part. And so, especially these zombies who look incredible, right? And the makeup for them is insane. I mean, it's one thing to just do a Walking Dead zombie where it's like a regular person going, and then Michonne slices him up, and that's, but here you've got to do all of the crazy fungus makeup and stuff. So.
Right. And not to mention, there are super zombies. So this is the type of stuff you see in the Left 4 Dead video game, where you have the bloater, the witch, and this and that. We actually did see a bloater, a big giant one, in the episode 5 in Kansas City, and then we also saw the clickers. It also makes sense in a realistic way that people are avoiding certain areas where all these infected are. So because it's not like The Walking Dead, where 9 times out of 10 your encounter with a zombie, you'll come out alive. It's a toss-up, because you don't know what they're going to do. They're very fast. They're unpredictable. It's just best to avoid them altogether than try to clear out a herd or whatever, like they do in The Walking Dead. But for the most part, very, very faithful to the video game. Let's get into episode 8, and I'll read the synopsis here.
Yeah.
So when we last left off, it was essentially Joel gets stabbed, and Ellie is trying to care for him. So in episode 8, Ellie leaves Joel, who is still recovering, to hunt for food. After shooting a deer, she tracks the wounded animal and encounters a preacher, a man named David, and his fellow hunter James. Fun fact, I believe James is played by Troy Baker, who voices Joel in the video game.
Okay.
We've been seeing a lot of that.
They do love bringing back the voice actors for other roles,
You'll see this again in episode 9. But She trades the deer for penicillin. David reveals the man who stabbed Joel was a member of his group. Ellie leaves to treat Joel. The next day, she discovers David and his men have followed her to seek vengeance on Joel. She flees to draw them away, but is captured. At David's camp, he reveals he has been feeding his group human flesh. Meanwhile, Joel awakens and tortures some of David's men into telling him Ellie's whereabouts. David and James attempt to kill Ellie, but she kills James and escapes. David hunts her down and tries to assault her, but she overpowers him and kills him with a meat cleaver. Joel finds a traumatized Ellie outside the cult's burning community center and comforts her, calling her baby girl, which we have not heard that since the first episode.
Yeah, with Maeve's daughter. Yeah.
With this. You kill me every time when you do that, but no, you're right.
Now, here's the funny thing, because like I say, if plot holes and ridiculous things in the plot, you forget about it if it's a good story and there's good acting and everything's put together. You know, it's directed well and the editing's, you know, good and all of that. Like, there's so many like little plot holes where you're like, wait a minute, like, they're cannibals, right? Or they're being forced into cannibalism. Like, how many people are dying? You know, like, one every week? You know, that doesn't add that much. Like, their group was like 200 people. Like, you know, like, the amount of meat on one person is not significant, you know, enough to like, it's like these weird things like that where I'm just like, wait, one body? Like, there's not enough meat on one body to even like bother going into cannibalism. Like, cannibalism, it's like you've got like, it's like the people from Alive, you know, like they need to survive a certain small number of days, and there's just a few of them, and therefore eating a body is going to get them through those few days. These people are trying to deal with months or years alone, and there's hundreds of them. Like, cannibalism doesn't apply, but whatever, you know.
I'm assuming it's also being like added, like the deer, like they're also hunting for deer and other stuff.
Right.
But
I mean, it must be, but then it's like these little supplements, you know, like don't really matter too much, you know. But what, you know, whatever. Also, I think there's a scene where I think Trey tweeted about it. He's like, where he orders two men to like drag the horse back to camp, and it's like, no, that's not happening. Because it's like camp is like 5 miles away, and it's two guys and a horse. Like, no, you're not getting that horse back. But ignoring that, yeah, no, I thought it was a really neat kind of episode because, you know, Ellie has to fend for herself, and you keep thinking they're really building this tension, like, oh, Joel's gonna save her, and Joel doesn't save her. She has to save herself, and that's kind of a cool thing. The whole episode, you're flashing back to Joel being like, oh man, he's gonna make it, and then he doesn't, you know. It kind of reminded me of Westworld, where there was also like a beat the clock thing, and then you find out that no, he failed years ago. Like, it was just like the beat the clock thing was a fake out. So, you know, I really, you know, I liked the fake out. I like the fake out that you think Joel's gonna save her, but he doesn't, you know. And, you know, I guess I wanted to know more about this cult. There was some really good acting, and I would have really liked to know more about the dynamic between the characters and everything. Like, the cannibalism is kind of the least interesting part about them, you know, but all the other things going on, like how this one guy became their leader and what they see in him, and his hidden violence behind kindness, like that kind of stuff was fascinating. We could have spent a long time on that guy, but you know, it was really quite rushed, but it's good. was good.
So in the video game, they actually cut out some fillery stuff. After Ellie is treating with him, after killing the deer, it's him and Ellie alone for quite a long time. And while they're waiting for the guy to come back with a penicillin infected attack. So Ellie and David in the video game have to fight side by side, back to back, against infected who just keep coming, and they just have to fend them off. So there is quite a bit of filler cut out. There are some people...
You know, that explains a lot.
What do you mean?
Because David risks a lot for his love or infatuation with Ellie. And how he gets to the point where he's willing to risk everything to bone this girl, it seems a little sudden in the show. Like, why? What does he see in Ellie? You know, this girl that like held him up with a gun. You know, I could see if there was a more like traumatic emotional time where they're fighting together. I could see them like him like rapidly acquiring feelings for her, rather than in the show he just kind of comes out of nowhere. He keeps her alive, and everybody's like, why don't we just kill her? We've got too many mouths to feed. She's really dangerous. And he's like, no, she's got to be alive, you know? And it's like he fell in love with her over the course of a few words with each other, like, you know, over a few hours. Well, if there was some sort of big traumatic emotional fight, I could understand it a little more.
You're right in the sense where I would understand if his group was just all men, or if his group was just all adults and he was just like a pedophile and she was the only little girl he's seen in a long time and all that. But they're in his group.
But there were girls. There are all sorts in his cult. Yeah.
There's a bit of controversy, by the way, with the character of David, in the sense where in the game we don't know that he's a preacher. He's just a guy. But in the show they made him, you know, a Christian type of character. And the guy who plays Dwight Schrute from The Office, I believe his name is Rainn Wilson. He actually came out recently. He's like... He's not really complaining, but he is pointing out that a lot of the religious characters we've been seeing from Hollywood nowadays have like this creepy, gross side to it.
Yeah, but you know, I've also like, even though I've met a lot of preachers in my life, and even though I don't agree with them politically, I can say that a lot of them are really nice people, and and the reason they become preachers is because they want to help people. And they feel like they have a talent for like inspiring people, either in a motivational speaking sort of way or just getting someone through depression. Like, I feel like they go into it with good motives. And so it is really weird that there's such a trope of, oh, this person that really wants to help people is actually really corrupt. And I don't think it's just preachers. I think they do it with a lot of like they'll show a charity worker of some sort in a show, and it's like, oh, he's not really in it to help people. He's in it for himself. He's in it because he's a creep. I think it might just be like, I mean, I'm sure it's a little bit of the religion stuff too, but like there is a trope of like anyone that actually wants to help is creepy, stranger danger, you know. So I think it's a bit of that. I mean, most preachers I've met in my life have been really fucking nice people. Like, really nice, you know? Of course, it's their job to be nice. It's their job to be personable. It's their job to, like, you know, try to connect with people.
It's also their job to be understanding. Yeah. There's this guy I game with, this guy out of Oklahoma, this guy Bear. He's actually going to do a job where he's going to be in charge of a lot of that type of stuff in a church. And he's one of the most nicest, understanding, well-read, well-educated guys I've met. And this tweet here from this one person sums it up pretty nicely. And they say... I say this as a Christian. Maybe if more people saw loving and kind Christian in their lives, that would be represented on screen. But today's corporate Christianity is given over to angry people who only preach what they personally hate instead of sharing and practicing love. That's so true. So,
yeah, I mean, it's not that there aren't extremist preachers or whatever, but I actually found that most preachers were sometimes the most moderate in the flock, because they needed to appeal to the most people.
Right.
You know, and when you actually like if you have a church of 100 people and the preacher is the most extreme, you're gonna lose half the flock. But if he's in the middle, he's gonna get people on both sides. He's gonna get the people that are more conservative than him, that tolerate him. You're gonna get the people that are more liberal than him that tolerate him. If he's to one extreme, he's gonna lose people. So I also found that like preachers themselves are usually not crazy. Like crazy to one degree, or if they are, they really keep it to themselves, and put a public face forward, So I don't know. It's weird. It's weird though. Like we find ourselves like defending preachers, and but you're right. It is a trope. It's a total trope that like, the corrupt preacher, the corrupt caregiver of some sort. Like who else I'm sure people are really upset with. People that work at say in like insane asylums or old folks homes, right? Aren't they always portrayed as abusing the patients?
Yeah, I remember. What comes to mind the moment you say that is that scene from Terminator 2 where Sarah Connor is in the insane asylum and the guy is Mm-hmm.
But I think it's also like Ben Stiller. I think is that role in like a Adam Sandler movie. Like his grandma's at a...
Oh, yeah. Like, Happy Gilmore.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But it's like... Or I mean, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest as well.
Right, that villain.
But, these people that probably... like, but in real life, like, these industries, like, they're often filled with people that really do care about these people and want to help them. Like I say, I had a friend who worked at a home for mentally challenged individuals, and he just really wanted to help people, like, and he was interested in like doing charity work, and so and it's weird because how I remember telling the story, like they had a problem at the home because randos off the street were coming in and impregnating some of the women. And, every month they all of a sudden found that one of their patients was or one of the people at the home was pregnant, and then they'd, have to deal with the situation. Usually the situation would end with an abortion, but like, it was always just a problem. Like, oh man, Mary's pregnant, But I remember after telling that story, I checked my comments. My comments were filled with comments that are like, I bet people at the home, I bet people like working there were having sex with them. I bet people were like working there were doing it. And it's like, like that was like, I think we're just built in media to like mistrust people. Like any caregiver, anybody that wants to help is actually evil.
It's funny that you say that. Who's been getting flack for just wanting to help and using his wealth to help? Mr. Beast. Mr. Beast is that incredibly popular and very wealthy YouTuber who just helped like 1,000 people, I think, gain eyesight through like a simplistic surgery that cost like $100 or something. And the moment he did this, everyone's like, what's his game? Well, he's making money from the videos. Well, yes, of course he has to make money from the videos. His wealth doesn't come from nowhere. And I find it funny how we always bitch how people like Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, Bezos aren't using their wealth to help the planet. But this is kind of why. Like, why help people when all you assholes are going to do is just question the reason why? And
I mean, with Mr. Beast, it's a game show. Like, I don't think there's anything.
No, this wasn't a game show. This is just him doing it and recording it.
No, but it's effectively a game show, right? It's like random acts of charity. Like a game show is a random act of charity, right? It's the same sort for entertainment value.
Yeah, I guess that by that definition, yeah, you could argue that.
So I mean, he's just running a game show, which I don't think is, I think it's kind of just morally neutral. I don't think he's a bad guy. I mean, he could be doing some other form of entertainment that doesn't help people, so I guess it's certainly better than nothing, he's literally helping people. So, I don't think there's anything to criticize is what I'm saying. But it's fun. Yeah, but you're right that like helping people doesn't make people like you. But that's not why you should be helping people, It's not like people getting Social Security checks are like, thank you, government. I love you. And not like people that get food stamps are like, thank you, government. They like it doesn't endear anybody.
Right.
The act is still a good act by itself. So, so you do it not because you want people to like you. You do it just because you do it. It's a good thing to do.
But in regards to The Last of Us, I think episode 8 is the only episode I felt that they didn't rush. Could have been a little longer and added more, sure, but I think this is the only episode that had a very good pace in contrast to the video game. The only fillery part that they took out, which was David and Ellie fighting back to back against the infected, I was okay with that being left out, but for the most part, I think this episode was actually very, very well done, very good, very faithful.
Do you get to control David, or are you controlling Ellie?
You're controlling Ellie throughout the entirety of it.
And then he's just kind of running around shooting people too.
You also control Joel towards the parts where Ellie is in prison, but for the most part, it's actually very faithful.
No, I'm saying what does David do? Is David under your control at all?
No,
is he just
he's not.
A background character running around shooting stuff.
He's a background character helping you shoot the infected when you're playing as Ellie. And funny enough, someone actually commented that someone went through the game files, and in the original Last of Us game, David was a preacher, but for some reason his lines of him being religious didn't make it into the game. So him being a preacher is actually canon in the game and the show. So.
Huh, interesting.
It's a whole thing. But for the most part, episode 8, I actually liked it a lot. I think it's probably one of the best episodes of the season. For a season that's been pretty good so far, I think it's one of the highlights.
Yeah, I mean, the performance of David in that. I think the performance of David is really great. I think Ellie did a really great job too. So Bella Ramsey did a really great job too. Pedro Pascal isn't really in it. Not really.
But him
he kills some people.
Him being brutal. Yo, he can do that. He can turn that on easily.
And it starts making sense now that you're because you keep hearing these stories from his brother, we did bad things, dude. We did bad things. And then all of a sudden you understand who Joel is, that he's actually kind of not a good person.
Well, speaking of him not being a good person, let's get into episode 9. In a flashback,
episode 9.
Ellie's mother, Anna, who is played by the actress that voices Ellie in the video game, Ashley Johnson, I believe. Ellie's...
Yeah, I know her as the Atticid for Growing Pains. That's, so you when back in the 80s and 90s, when a sitcom went long enough, usually sitcoms had a mom and dad and 3 kids. And that was the standard sitcom family. But eventually the show would go long enough that they're like, fuck, what are we going to do to keep viewers in? I know, let's have them have a 4th kid.
Uh-oh.
And so this is a common plot. A 4th kid arrives in the family. And so she was the 4th kid in the Seaver family in Growing Pains.
Really?
They have the baby, and then the next season she's 5 years old.
Didn't the Brady Bunch do this? I feel like I never watched the Brady Bunch, but I still know of it. Wasn't that their jump the shark moment?
Their add a kid was a neighbor. Yeah. And then Cosby Show added a kid 4 times. Sometimes they add a kid, a couple times. Different strokes. They added the redhead kid from Terminator 2. The guy from Salute My Shorts. It's always the thing. I mean, Family Ties adds the 4th kid. There's always this 4th kid. But yeah. But she was the 4th kid. I guess she was also in Avengers.
Was she in Avengers?
As the waitress at the end.
Oh, right.
She was the waitress at the end. Yeah. I was making fun of that scene because I think that scene is really, really stupid. It's Blade, right?
So you messaged me about this. Explain that one to me. What do you mean Blade? I'm not too familiar with the movie.
So the origin story of Blade, the superhero, is his mother was bitten by a vampire while she was pregnant. And so when he was born, he has all of the advantages of the vampire, but none of their weaknesses. Because, when you bite a pregnant woman, it's special. And I think that also happens in Twilight. I think she's bitten while pregnant, and therefore her child is not a vampire or a werewolf or a human. She's like something else that's special. Like it's this random trope of like biting pregnant women.
Which doesn't make any sense for me, because in regards to a vampire, if you're going to bite someone, why not just kill them off? Why leave them alive? And in regards to...
Well, it is explained in the movie. In the movie, it's explained that she was kept like... I'm going to spoil Blade. You haven't seen Blade with
I've seen
Stephen
it.
Dorff?
I saw it in the theaters with Wesley Snipes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, spoiler for a 30-year-old movie. But like... she's kept alive because the dude like keeps her as his lover, and so like you find out that Stephen Dorff's been like banging Blade's mom for like 30 years. That they're like together. Yeah.
I don't remember this at all. The only thing I remember being weird about that movie is it's one of the very few movies where the main like two leads are a man and a woman, and they end the film not even kissing, just being friends, and they're just walking off like without even so much as like a hug. Just walk off. They agree to like keep fighting, and that's it. You know what I'm talking about? They ended in that movie. I
do. Though I think Commando also there's no actual romance between the characters. It's like there's like this implied sexual tension between them, but they never do anything, right?
Huh.
Yeah, but yeah. Huh.
But no, so Ellie's mother, Anna, is bitten by an infected, and she gives birth to Ellie. She's found by Marlene, who hesitantly takes Ellie and kills Anna at the latter's request. In the present, Firefly soldiers capture Ellie and knock Joel unconscious. After Joel awakens in the hospital, Marlene explains that the doctors are preparing Ellie for surgery to produce a cure, but the procedure will kill her. Marlene orders Joel to be taken away. However, he fights back and kills most of the soldiers and the lead surgeon.
They never say that she's going to die, but it's implied.
Yeah.
It's implied that she's going to die.
Joel finds Ellie and leaves the hospital. Marlene intercepts them, stating that there's still time to find a cure, but Joel shoots her and kills her. When Ellie wakes up, Joel lies and tells her that the Fireflies have found other immune people and were unable to create a cure. As they hike to Jacksonville, Ellie expresses survivor's guilt. She insists Joel swear his story about the Fireflies is true, and he says yes, to which she accepts his words. So there was so much controversy with this ending, because it ends exactly the same way.
Yeah.
There was so much controversy with the ending when the game came out. Like, was he in the right to do this? Like, are you really going to doom humanity just to save one person?
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because when watching the inside the episode and everything, and how they interpret it and how many people interpret it, like, the Firefly's certainty that they can open up her brain and save humanity is treated like 100%. You know, like, right? When if I were in that situation, I'd be like, wait, come on, you're killing her for like a chance, like a slim chance that like a cure can be.
But isn't that a chance worth taking?
Developed.
This thing has ravaged the entire country. If there's a chance that we can maybe turn things around, maybe. Or at least
here's the thing that truly makes Joel in the wrong is that like killing one person to allow thousands to live is already something that like is probably the right thing to do, but draconian. You know, it's a little dark, like, you know, because it's against somebody's will, and like but this situation is even like worse for Joel because Ellie would have chosen to sacrifice herself for everybody else. Mm-hmm. She wanted to fulfill her destiny and play this role. She didn't really like living. She's kind of depressed. She's you know, she would be the type of person to want to help everybody. She feels this is her her mission, you know? And Joel takes that away from her. And so like, I feel like Ellie would have willingly killed herself to save humanity.
My question is, because this is not answered in the game either, do they not explain to Ellie the procedure before she undergoes the surgery? Like, because they have to have run tests on her beforehand and come to the conclusion that we have to do this.
Oh, I mean, the situation is ultra contrived. Like, Joel just happens to wake up at that moment, and then at that moment they decide to like free him. And he's able to like find her. I mean, it's super contrived. Like, just keep him in handcuffs for like the next like 2 hours. Like, you don't need to take him out now. Like, let's like just it's ridiculous.
But at the same time, how are we supposed to know that he's got an attachment to this girl? As far as Marlene knows, this was just another job for him. She knows him as this guy who does not give a fuck. And like, once again, as far as she knows, as far as Marlene knows, Joel is just a guy who did his job, wants his pay, wants to get out of there. There's no way that she would know that he has grown this attached to Ellie. There's no way that she would know about his adventures. So at the same time, there's really no way to keep him locked.
I see your point, but at the same time, like, this is something that's really fucking important. You know, it's like not taking it. Like, I wouldn't take it. Like, if I had to do something really important, I'm not going to take any phone calls. Like, leave me be. Like, you know, it's an unnecessary distraction to do this at a really, really important, vital time. Like, I'm surprised Marlene wasn't up there. Like, I'm surprised everybody wasn't up there, you know, watching the surgeon, making sure everything goes right. You know, you're talking about the fate of humanity, right?
Right.
You know, like, you leave 4 people in an unlocked room, even ignoring Joel. Like, what about raiders? What about clickers? Like, anything.
So they kind of explain. They kind of like, they don't explain it, but they show it. And I hate to be the George R. Martin of this podcast, but in the game, when Joel, the game, this is a section in the game where you have to escape and you have to take out all the Marines, not random guys in rags and like, you know, AK-47s. Actual U.S. Marines are in the building with tactical gear, and they are protecting like every floor. You have to like really fight your way through this. Joel, I find it insane. Like, I feel what you said about Mando season 2 finale, where they're just like mowing down stormtroopers, and how like how ridiculous that was. That started ringing in my head when because he's just mowing people down. Really, no one can get like 1 shot, 2 shots on him. Everyone knows where he's coming from. We can hear the gunshots. Really, all these fireflies.
This is the Firefly headquarters, right?
Yeah,
like they're gonna hear the. Yeah, it is like a video game where you kill somebody and the AI is looking the other direction so he doesn't notice, you know? And you're like,
and we know they're well armed. They have like flash grenades that they used on Joel. Where are those flash grenades? It worked the first time.
It's true, but why even bring him into the same hospital? Like, why even have him anywhere near?
Once again, there's no reason to like not do that.
It's just an unnecessary risk.
There's no reason not to.
Like the entire situation is absolutely contrived, and when you examine it, it's ultra stupid. Also, like, Marlene has now traveled across the country. Why didn't she just take Bella Ramsey? Why didn't she just take Ellie? This is fucking stupid, you know? Like, oh well.
Because I think she traveled like a large caravan, and that would have drawn too much attention. So she needed someone who was good at smuggling, like Joel. And I guess Joel has that type of reputation that gets the job done. And it was just going to be Joel and Tess and Bella Ramsey. Therefore, Lyanna Mormont. Therefore, like, they could easily 3 people traveling across the country. I'm sure Joel has his contacts, which he did. So there's a reason Marlene trusted Joel for the job. And, like, I get it, it's contrived, but like I said, there's no reason to keep him locked up. If anything, she should have offered him pay.
Just wait, you know, just wait. It's just, you don't know. You just don't know. Like, look, if I have to do something really important, do I want my toddler around? No, like, he probably won't do anything. He has no reason to do anything, but it's a fucking toddler. Like, it's Joel. Like, this guy's a murderer.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on in his crazy mind.
I will say my one problem with this episode was that it was too short. This really should have been... I was actually very surprised when I was watching it, and I'm looking at the bottom of the screen. I'm like, oh, this is only like 45 minutes? Not even, because some of it is credits and all that. So, yeah, I'm... that this entire show really should have been at least 10 to 12 episodes, because by the end of the entirety of it, I'm still very iffy on like Joel and Ellie's relationship, because if we go back and analyze it, the first 2 episodes, they're still strangers. They don't really know each other that well. The 3rd episode is Bill and Frank. Mm-hmm. Episode 4 and 5, Kansas City stuff, okay. 6, at episode 6, we know that it's been quite a few months since the Kansas City stuff, so they have gotten to know each other, okay, but we don't see that. And then most of...
Off-screen, right.
Off-screen. So 6 is most of, like, it's them still hanging out, kinda, Joel realizing that he's gotten a little close to her. 7, it's just, like, Ellie's flashback. 8, it's mostly Ellie. And now 9... it's them again together, and they get to spend some time together. The giraffe scene I told you about, which, by the way, not a CGI giraffe, a real giraffe.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I've actually, I've fed real giraffes too. They really could have stuck their hand in there a little more. I'm serious. Like, giraffes will take their tongue and like just start licking you because you're covered in salt and like grab stuff giraffes are relatively safe creatures, but like, she was just kind of holding stuff and that giraffe was just kind of nipping it away. But yeah, it was a cool scene. But but you are right that they do jump to all of a sudden he's like, what was he like? Do you want to learn how to swim and stuff like that? And he was a completely different person. And that connection with him and Ellie happens off screen, right?
In the game, it's travel together because you're fighting these fucking raiders and these infected, and it's time is taken as Ellie and Joel are like walking through like city blocks and ruined buildings and stuff, which we don't see in the show, but it's in the game. They do have these little conversations. It's also implied that after the whole thing with David from episode 8 in the game, like going through the Firefly headquarters towards the very last part of it, like I can feel and hear and see that Ellie, after spending time with her for fucking hours in this thing, I can see that she is like, that situation has visibly changed her, and her demeanor and everything is just like, she is not the same person after David.
Yeah. I think they needed to shift some of those important conversations a little earlier. Like him revealing his suicide, him revealing that he had a daughter. He needed to shift those a little earlier for that, for them to be really more attached and comfortable with each other. Because it does happen kind of all at once, all at once for us. Like, yes, like timeline wise, we don't see them for months, but all we got is them like, doing some pun jokes and fighting zombies. And then he reveals that he had a daughter and that he tried to kill himself, and then he just murders dozens of people and dooms humanity.
Like I said, I really think they should have bit the bullet and gone at least 12 episodes. At least 12 episodes. Which is funny because the show was very faithful to the games. In fact, I think this is probably the most faithful adaptation of a video game we've ever gotten, with the exception of the 90s Mortal Kombat film.
I would almost argue that it's too faithful. I would argue that it's too faithful.
Yeah, kinda, yeah.
Because I keep saying like, oh, they needed a couple more stops, a couple more adventures to allow the characters and to allow the friendship and the father-daughter relationship to like grow and bloom, right? We needed just a couple more adventures. I think I would have been happy. Had there been like one more adventure between the cult and Marlene, at the end there, and one more adventure between like Kansas City and Montana. Okay, I would have been 100% satisfied with like the development of their relationship, but it was just a little too short. I mean, it's still great performances, and I still think this is like the show for the most part. It's a 9 out of 10 show. It's great.
I actually agree with you. But, yeah, that would be my one criticism, that it's a little too short when it comes to the budding relationship between the two leads. Other than that, everything has been fucking phenomenal. The music was good. The makeup stuff was good. Even though there weren't a lot of infected.
Special effects were fantastic.
Special effects were good.
And all the other cast, like every cast person that they pull in, and their story, and it's just heart wrenching, and you really feel for all of these characters that they meet along the way. I mean, it was that was great. That was great. Like we just wanted more.
Yeah.
But not to do now. Carmine has told me the spoilers for series 2, which I kind of understand now why they took the plot of not, without saying anything. Like, I understand why they take the plot where it goes for the second game. By the way, I like went onto Facebook, and my buddy has a picture of him with Pedro Pascal. Well, it's in 2019 where he went to see Pedro Pascal in King Lear.
Oh, he was in King Lear?
He was like Pedro yeah. He went to see Pedro Pascal doing some stage in King Lear, and Pedro Pascal came out and he said that he begged me to get a selfie with him, like as a joke. He like sees him, he's like, dude, we have to get a selfie together. And like, and he's like, oh, okay. And he like gets a selfie with
nice.
But yeah, so
Pedro Pascal seems like a very chill dude. He seems like a very cool guy. Like, and he's like the Keanu Reeves of the Hispanic community. He seems very, very chill, very down to earth, and I kind of like that.
Oh yeah,
I like that he's become that guy.
Yeah, he seems like a pretty nice guy. Every interview I've seen him in. And recently I saw him on a red carpet where they were like, oh, Sarah Michelle Gellar posted about your appearance on Buffy. And he's like, wait, she did? He's like, what do you remember about like being on that show? And he's like, oh, everything. And then he's just started telling all of these like really detailed stories about the one episode that he filmed for Buffy the Vampire Slayer 25 fucking years ago. He starts going, he's like, oh my God. And then I went to Sarah Michelle Gellar's trailer, and she gave me ice cream, and I was actually performing in a play the same day, and I had to miss opening night in order to like film it. And he's like, you're like, oh my gosh, like all this stuff. But yeah, no, he's good at what he does. Good at what he does.
He's good at what he does. And so Neil Druckmann, who is the creator of The Last of Us, he said that Bella Ramsey will be back for season 2. They're not planning to recast her unless she decides she doesn't want to do this anymore. Which, okay, I still, even now, like, Bella Ramsey has grown on me. Sure, no problem, whatever. She's grown on me. I'm still just a little iffy, but she's grown on me since episode 1. Fine. I still don't know about her carrying season 2, because she will be very prominent, of course, as she was in this, but she's supposed to be older in season 2. So I don't know how that's going to translate, because I'm pretty sure she's done growing. She's 19. So,
look, most women are like at their adult height when they're like 13 or 14 years old. So it's not, growing tall is not the thing. It's, but you also, like, there's a few things. she is 20 years old, so she's already the age of the character that she's supposed to be in the next game.
Right, but at 19, at 18, 19, she played a 14-year-old girl, and she's not going to change much in the next couple of years when they start filming season 2. So I find it very weird that
that's the thing, is there's going to be a good year and a half, 2 years between seasons, because this is like the new state of television, is that, you know, everybody's used to like these 1 year gaps between seasons. It's like no, now it's like a year and a half is how long it takes to do stuff, you know, because TV shows are more like movies now. So
right, and because people keep giving me shit for this. What I'm saying is, Bella Ramsey has played Ellie as a 14-year-old. And they're going to take a couple of years. It'll probably be 2 to 3 years before we get season 2. In 2 to 3 years, she's not going to look any older and she's not going to look any taller. So it's going to be weird watching 14-year-old Ellie come back, and she's supposed to be... She already played 14-year-old Ellie, but nothing has changed in the time skip that we're going to get. And she's still going to look like 14-year-old Ellie doing it like adult stuff with adult... You know what I'm saying?
She's gonna look fine. She's gonna look fine.
Okay, I want to see this. We'll be back here.
They're gonna do makeup. They're gonna, you know, pull the duct tape off her breasts and all the things that they do.
She actually revealed. By the way, I know people are gonna like. There's gonna be that one person in the comment section. Bella Ramsey goes by they them pronouns, but she has been very clear that she does not care what pronouns people use for her. So I'm not misgendering, like on purpose. I'm not being an asshole. She does not care. So she said that, so whatever. But she also revealed that she wore a binder for like at least 90% of the filming, which, okay, that's fair. That's fine.
Yeah, to make her look 14. That's what I'm saying. Like they used to strap them down with duct tape. They used to just wrap duct tape.
I did not know this.
Women's breasts. Yeah, to flatten them out, to make them look like a little kid or something, you know. So she did. She wore a binder in order to hide her curves, to make her look more make her look more like a 14-year-old girl. You know,
I was under the impression reading the article that she did it because she just does not want to be feminine. Because in the article she said that's just not who she is. She's not like a girly type of person. But that also makes sense too, that she wore a binder for a good chunk of it. Sure. It's just, like I said, as someone who's played the part 2, which I actually really like, and some of the things that she has to do and she has to like go down with, it's just going to be weird to see Bella Ramsey. Like, I don't know. We'll see. To me, she's always going to be Lyanna Mormont, but we'll see. Just like to you, Sarah will always be Maeve's daughter. So, by the way, that's the name of the character, Sarah, Joel's daughter, and did you forget?
Her name's Maeve's daughter. I don't know what you're talking about. That was very funny. By the way, I laughed. Like, I was watching with my wife, the last episode with my wife, and Joel makes the comment like, and this kind of proves that like Joel's just kind of nuts, because he's like, no, you know, I think my daughter would have liked you. You know, you were very different, but I think you would have been friends. And it's like, dude, your daughter would be like 34 years old. Like, she's not going to be friends with a 14-year-old. Like, come on. Like, but in his head, I think it was in his head, she's still 14. You know, in his head, she's still 15. And therefore they'd be friends. But it's like, no, like she'd be a full grown woman.
You're actually not wrong. So I don't know. Yeah. I don't know if this show's any different in regards to age. But in part 1, Joel is 51 to 52 years old. So yes, yeah. You're actually not wrong. His last name is Miller, by the way, Joel Miller. So you're saying that Joel's daughter's name is Maeve's daughter Miller. That's the full
Maeve's daughter Miller. Maeve's daughter.
His daughter, the middle name.
Daughter. Martell Miller.
Martell? Which one's the middle name? Is Martell?
What's Mando's last name?
Jarin?
Jarin. Martell Jarin Miller, I believe, is her. It's hyphenated.
Oh, I got you. Thank you.
Martell.
I love the memes that like I love the memes that like anytime a TV show that requires like a guy to escort and protect a child, the whole show, Pedro Pascal will be there. He's like Sean Bean at this point.
Do you have a lot of incompetent people with guns that are trying to kill a small child? Pedro Pascal is your man. he will mow down hundreds of incompetent soldiers. For the chosen one.
Of course, for the chosen one.
When the chosen one finds the group they're meant to be with, he will take them away from them again.
Hey, Grogu came back to him, okay? Grogu found his way back to him.
I know.
Real quick, I have to, I don't know if I said this before we sign off. I don't like the way the immunity was just... Because in the games, it's never outright stated that, like, this is the reason why Ellie's immune. She's just immune because she's just immune. Here, it's outright stated that she's immune because this sort of complicated...
Because she's Blade.
Because she's Blade, right. This sort of complicated events happen. By that point, like, as the audience, that kind of ruins it because now the audience can just say, well, why don't we just replicate this? Why don't we just replicate it? Let's try to replicate it and see what happens. Marlene had to have written it down somewhere. Like, because Marlene witnessed, like, what happened. And now that Marlene knows that Ellie is immune, she can easily put 2 and 2 together and, like...
I mean, Marlene's dead now.
I'm sure she wrote it down somewhere. She had to have.
Yeah, someone finds it and they're like, oh, all we have to do to save the world is to lock a pregnant woman in a room and then have an infected bite her. You know, that's it.
Yeah. Like, that's... I hate that they explained that. I kind of wished Ellie's immunity was just, like... unknown. It's just
right, or like at least one of the soldiers would have survived and Marlene would have explained the whole story to somebody, right?
Well, to be fair, one of the soldiers was there with Marlene when she had to kill Anna. So I don't know.
Maybe he told some people too.
I don't know.
I mean, it would be big news. I'd be like, I don't know why the secrecy, you know? I'd be like, dude, we figured out how to save humanity. Lock a pregnant woman in a room, send in an infected, grab the baby, you know, split open the baby's brain, pull out the cordyceps or whatever. It's weird as they didn't give very much time. Like, she was like birthing. Usually when we think of like in utero immunity, you know, you think of like things passing through the placenta and things like that. But this was like through the umbilical cord or something. I don't know. It was so fast. It was like it was an emotional scene. It was well acted, but the concept was stupid, dude. Like, why make her Blade? Why make her Blade?
Yeah.
Just make her immune. She's just like, that's the thing, is she could just be born immune. Like, and then, you know, there's something complicated going on in there, you know?
For those of you who played the game, you know that this is not a part of the game, but actually it is. According to Neil Druckmann on a podcast, he did say that this was the original intent they wanted for the games, but they never could put it in there. They wanted to put it in like a comic or a novel, but it just never materialized. So like Ellie's mom being bitten when she was pregnant, that is technically canon. Yeah. So there it is.
But at the same, I mean, I don't know if it's canon, because the thing is, deleted scenes are deleted for a reason.
No, he confirmed that they wanted to do that, like for a comic book or something, but it just never materialized.
They didn't want it hard enough.
Yeah.
Like, if it doesn't appear on screen, it's not fucking canon. Okay, like they didn't try hard enough, and it didn't make it in. Because it was a sucky idea, okay? And that was the reason it didn't make it. So, like, it, you know, it deserved not to make it in. Because it's stupid. Okay? Like, anytime you get, like, those DVD extras, and they're like, oh, let's look at the deleted scenes. The deleted scenes always suck. You're like, oh, I understand why they cut this for time.
There's one deleted scenes for Avengers Endgame where Rocket Raccoon is trolling the Avengers team because you remember in the first Avengers film the Chitauri attack because of Loki? Rocket's going, like, you guys had problems fighting the Chitauri? They're like the shittiest army in the galaxy. I kind of wish that one was canon. That was fucking hilarious. But, Preston, do you mind if we wrap it up here?
Sounds good.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us on the Last of Us podcast. As always, we'll be back again with Last of Us Season 2, Part 2, whatever it's called, whenever that airs, maybe in a couple of years. But yeah, hopefully you'll stick with us then. See you next time. Have a good one.